For this week's unboxing, we will be taking a look at the Tamiya Mclaren Senna. I also have a couple of decal sets that I will be adding to the kit, and some I won't, but that still look good, so we'll be showing those as well. Let's go through the box quickly and then go over the parts in a bit more detail further on in the video. So for the keen-eyed viewer, during the quick look through all of the parts and sprues, some sprues are molded in black, others are molded in white, and others are then again molded in silver. Pretty much all of the sprues that are molded in black will need to be fully covered in carbon fiber from front to back. Now this of course is optional. These decals are not included in the kit, but are available on the aftermarket, and I will show you the set that I have got my hands on. But then again, you could simply just paint these black, gunmetal, or any similar carbon fiber color, or go full crazy and apply carbon fiber decals on all of them. Now, the parts are also incredibly detailed, so alongside a lot of work for the carbon fiber, the detail is incredible and all there on pretty much every single part and piece that is included in the kit. Nothing is simple, everything should fit together pretty well, but it is a pretty complicated and extremely detailed kit to build. Now some of the parts, like you can see here, are made out of a sort of mesh, but they are not see-through. So with an upgrade set for aftermarket photo etch, you could probably replace these and go even further in the detail. Same for this rear grille mesh on the engine bay, but that is all up to you. The parts themselves already look pretty amazing, so you could just leave them as is. And if you thought that's it for the carbon fiber parts, then you would be wrong. Totally wrong. There is another entire sprue with even more parts that would need to be done in carbon fiber, both for the interior, exterior, and also the engine bay. The main engine bay you can see here is nicely detailed. It has some cool vents and nice shapes into it, and would fully be needed to cover in carbon fiber. The nice thing about this kit is the interior, that most of the parts like the dashboard, if they need to be painted in a separate or different color optionally, that the part itself is separate and on a different sprue or just a separate part, as I just said. Some of the parts for the exterior, like you see here, this is the centerpiece for the roof where the doors mount to. This can be done in carbon fiber or just simply gloss black. And as you can already see, this is already a bit glossier than the rest of the parts. So that makes it a lot easier if you just want to build it and not paint it, of course, as you could then just simply assemble it and a lot of the parts already have the correct sheen. Now, I'm not saying you should do that, as it's a lot more fun just to paint everything, but you could, and it's nice to see that Tamiya took the time and attention to give all of the parts a bit of a different texture. And with most of the composite pieces now out of the way, we can move on to the actual metal pieces. These are a lot of the pieces for the chassis, the suspension, steering, all stuff, including the engine as well. The engine doesn't really look fully detailed, as I feel like I'm missing some pieces, but then again, it will be fully enclosed in the chassis, so not a big deal in my opinion, as the parts that will be seen are incredibly well detailed and incredibly clean as well. Even some of the venting and ducting on the brakes has been taken care of as well on this suspension or steering piece. I don't really know the name. I should know the name, but I don't. Steering knuckle. Moving on. It is nicely detailed, has the ducting or venting for the air to go to the correct place on there, and is a super nice detail. On the discs themselves, they are sort of pre-drilled. They have an indentation on the top, nothing on the bottom. So you could decide to drill out a couple of hundred holes or just leave it as it is already a pretty nice part by itself. For the exhaust, the European and the American market have a different exhaust, so both of these are included in the kit as well. The main engine block and transmission is also included. Again, nicely detailed and looks incredible. The wheels themselves are also made out of multiple pieces. Since these are center lock wheels, the center piece is not included, as you could paint that in a different color. And I believe these are some of the parts for it that could also be painted in a different color matching the exterior, or pretty much anything you'd like to see. All of the parts you've previously seen pretty much need to be mounted to this main centerpiece. This is the outside piece of the wing, so that is a separate part. But this is just the main monocoque that also needs to be done fully in carbon fiber, gloss black, or any other color you'd like. But the details on this are simply incredible. As you can see, the venting here on the rear, everything is nice and see-through. Everything seems to be thought out really, really well, and that is pretty incredible to see, but nothing we wouldn't expect from Tamiya, to be fair. So on the Senna, a lot of the cars that were made, specifically the first couple of press cars, press releases, were painted with the same interior color on the exterior as the exterior color is done on the interior. Now, some of the parts are painted, other parts are made out of Alcantara or carbon fiber, or even covered in leather, but that pretty much all is optional. On this sprue, it is a mix of both in and exterior parts. For example, these are some of the calipers, incredibly nicely detailed, super complicated shapes all over, but do seem to capture the real ones really, really nicely. Some of the struts were on the interior to hold up the doors, various interior parts like for the dashboard, the steering wheel, and also all of the parts that are supposed to be done in a fabric for the seats. So just like I said, the main tub for the seat needs to be done in carbon fiber, and then all of the parts that need to be done in a different color like these are separate pieces. So that makes it for a really easily clean to build the kit and not really all that much masking off needed for most of the main parts. Now for the exterior, some of the parts are molded in here as well. I believe these are parts for the doors and the front wings, and these are done separately as you have detail on both sides. The second white sprue has a lot of the other exterior components and the main big ones. These again are the outer parts for the doors with the center section missing, as you can put a clear piece in there to see through the interior. This is for the rear, some of the exhaust pieces that still need to be done in there, some of the heat shielding, again separate parts, making it a lot easier to paint them in the colors they are supposed to be. And then again the rear wings and the front ones as well. They are made out of a lot of separate parts, but that probably has to do with them being super complicated shapes, but that does mean that they need to be glued together with other parts and seams need to be filled in. Now that does add another level of difficulty to the kit and a lot more work, but in the end, if you take care of all of these pieces and parts and gluing them, sanding them, filling them, it will be an amazing finish. There are two more sprues included in the kit, and that's pretty much the final sprues that I'm going to go over, as there are no more sprues in the kit, and these are for the clear parts. Now, to be fairly honest, these are a bit of a letdown, as in my opinion Tamiya missed a huge detail on this kit, and a lot of builders have skipped it. They simply didn't know or didn't want to do it, as Tamiya didn't make the provisions to make that easy. Some of the builders that did take care of this made an amazing build, and it made an incredible difference on the overall build. So what I'm talking about specifically on these clear parts, they should have an edge in them that needs to be masked off, so you can paint that outer edge in black where the parts need to be glued to the chassis and or the window frames, and just hide a little bit of detail there. But as you can see, all of these clear parts are super sharp, super crisp, super clear, and have no markings on them whatsoever. They simply, just according to the instructions, need to be glued in, and that's it. But you would need to mask all of them off, cut a nice clean line around every single one of them, front glass, the parts for around the engine bay, on the side in the doors, the multiple pieces all over need to be completely masked and cut off to add that detail, but it is simply just missing on the parts. So that gets a really big fat thumbs down from my side, as this should have been added in the kit, but it isn't there. I will insert a couple of pictures that I found online. Nothing to the builders themselves, they did a fantastic job, and it simply isn't in the instructions, so it could easily be missed. And then again, also some pictures of how it should actually look. Otherwise, the clean parts, or the clear parts, are nice and clean, so no complaining there, apart from that huge mistake and missing detail, of course. There are some tires included as well, as usual with these Tamiya kits. Incredible details, super sharp tires, nice color on the rubber themselves, and no complaints there. Super nice parts. As far as decals and stickers go, nothing much to talk about. There is a small sheet with some metal transfers for a couple of the mirrors and some of the Mclaren and Senna logos, front and rear, I believe. And there is a main decal sheet with all of the screens, some of the speakers, various logos all around, color options for on the calipers, and just a generally nice decal sheet. But then again, no carbon fiber decals to be found in this kit, so that is for the aftermarket to solve. Shortly after this kit was released, SK Decals quickly came out with a couple of decal sets. First of all, they came out with one of the liveries that has been seen on the actual one-to-one car a couple of times in various different iterations. just going back to the actual Senna liveries that he had on his Formula 1 cars, and simply just looking pretty cool. Now, I'm not really sure if this is my cup of tea and I'm going for this. I'd rather just go for a plain color on the body instead of going fully stickered and decaled. But for the guys that are interested in this, it is a super nice decal sheet which adds a lot to the actual kit and makes it look pretty cool and unique. Now, the other set that I am more interested in is the carbon fiber decal sheet. This has carbon fiber decals for pretty much every single part in the kit that needs to be covered in carbon. And as I've talked about earlier in the video, that's pretty much the entire kit. Now, this one also has you covered for an entire exterior carbon fiber covering. So you can go for every single panel, interior, exterior, chassis, engine bay, and cover it in carbon fiber. The decals are pre-cut, so you simply just need to cut them roughly out of the decal sheet, put them in the water, and start applying the decals, so you don't have to make your own templates. So this specific set from SK Decals has a couple of different sheets with a lot of parts in it. It even has a bit of an extra sheet down here. It is covered in a protective film so the decals don't stick together and get ruined. But this is just a split carbon fiber, so if you need to cover pieces that you've missed or you simply made a mistake, you have some spare extras right here. And the rest of the parts again are taken care of. All of the decals are directional, so you don't need to line them up really tightly, as they already go in the right direction to mimic the actual carbon fiber on the car itself. If you're interested in these decals, I will be leaving the links in the description down below. And also don't forget to check out my web shop, thescalemodelingchannel.com, for many other scale modeling supplies and needs.